What's up, folks? You're tuning into the live War Chant stream of Florida State Auburn, the 2013 National Championship that was played on January 6th, 2014. We got about 12:45 to go in the third quarter, so when we're picking this up. Your Seminoles are your War Eagle. Your Seminoles trail by 11. If you're an Auburn fan, I can't imagine you're watching this. But if you are, you're up 11 and looking good. Things are great. You're on the plus side of the 50, second and 8 with 12:30 to go. And I guess Ira and Gene, what were y'all thinking right now? When did it occur to you, I guess both of you, Ira, we were working together at the time, right?
We were.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's right. Yeah, of course. And Gene, you were obviously out there too with Great War Chant. When did you guys think, okay, Florida State's going to lose this game? Was it 21-3? Was it 14-3? Was it right now?
When it was 21-3, that was the first time I thought, oh my gosh. But then when they scored to make it 21-10 at halftime, I thought, we had just seen Jameis be so awesome all year and all those weapons. I felt like Florida State had a good chance to get back once they got to 21-10, but 21-3, man, I was thinking it might be a wrap.
Yeah, I was pretty much the same, and I thought that if they did not score before half, it wasn't looking good. But I really thought when they got the Carlos Williams, and you can, by the way, if you're on War Chant, we've got a live thread going right now. We've got fans talking about the game, and I put a replay in that thread of the fake punt to Carlos Williams that got Florida State, at least cut it to 21-10 at the half. But I thought when that happened, I really thought they still got a good chance to win this because, like Ira said, that offense is so explosive with Jameis. There's so many weapons. They can come back from that deficit. Not that difficult. Heck, we saw it every other game in 2014. They were behind like this and came back and won. So I never really felt they were going to lose the game.
I did when it was 21-3. And I think it became 21-3 after Jameis fumbled. They just looked completely out of sync. It had been 5 weeks since they played or 4 weeks since they played. And they just looked completely out. They haven't looked that bad offensively all year. By the way, this is a really big play in the game. Auburn's driving. They pick up a third down. Big, looks like a 20-yard pass over the middle. But Robinson, who I think was a really high draft pick, right?
Yeah.
The left tackle for Auburn gets called for holding on Mario Edwards. So instead of 1st and 10 at the Florida State 20, it's now 3rd and 18. And they try this little screen pass that doesn't go anywhere, and Florida State gets the ball right back. That's a really big momentum shift in this game because if Florida State comes out in the second half and punts like they did, a 3-and-out, and then Auburn goes right back down the field and scores to make it 28-10, that might have been lights out.
Now, let me jump in here because the series before this is when the infamous KB goes to the sideline and says, hey, they're stealing our plays, referring to Damian Craig, who supposedly had some of the play calls. And I noticed even the next two series, what kind of an impact do you guys think that had? Because even in the next two series, still the offense doesn't really do anything. It's not until they really have an interception kind of change momentum that Florida State roars back. But I know there's various opinions on what that had an effect on the game. Was it more Florida State, just that long layoff you referred to? They were just rusty, or do you think that really had something to do with it?
Well, look, if Damian Craig was stealing your signs, well, that's number one, that's on you. You know he's on the staff, and you know he used to work with you, and he's trying to win a national championship. So if you haven't changed your signs that you're signaling in the last 12 months or 24 or 36 months, that's on you, Jimbo, somebody that thinks about everything. Think about that he might actually try to take those signs to help his team win a football game. But I do remember noticing, I think Ira even pointed it out to me, in the second half is when the Towel Boys came back out.
Mm-hmm.
We hadn't seen them all year, and then all of a sudden the Towel Boys came back out. And I think Ira noticed that first to me, and we're like, "Oh, Jimbo's really losing it now. It's back to 2012, Jimbo. He's got the towels out." But yeah, there was something to that, and obviously, if they have an idea what routes are being run, yeah, man, that's a huge because Auburn wasn't good defensively that year. They won because of their offense, but their defense stopped hardly anyone. I think Missouri put up a boatload of points on them in the SEC championship game. It's just Mason ran for a gazillion yards. But I think that's a huge deal if obviously you know what plays are coming or what routes are being run.
Yeah, and I think, when we asked Jimbo about it years later, when it came out, the whole thing, the audio clip where you can hear, or video clip where you can hear Kelvin on the sideline saying that, Jimbo's always kind of downplayed it, but I think that's what he's going to do. The thing that makes me believe that there really is something to it besides the results was the way Jameis acted, like in that first half. Like the times we saw Jameis bad, even at the next level, it's when he gets panicky, like when he starts rushing and kind of can't calm down. He's so emotional. But in the first half, he didn't seem that way. He seemed calm. It just seemed like he didn't. It was like whatever he was seeing wasn't what he was expecting to see. Like every time he looked, dropped back to pass, guys were covered that he didn't expect to be covered, or the defense was playing in a way he wasn't expecting him to play. So that's what made me believe it, especially going back and watching it. Just the way Jameis acted, he wasn't bad because he was panicked. He was bad because I think he didn't know, he couldn't figure out why Auburn was where they were on all these plays.
On the other side of that, why I'm still not really sure about that, because really if you look the next 3 offensive series after the Cowboys came out, Florida State still does nothing on offense. They still look confused. They still look out of it. And it really took a momentum change with the interception until they started to roll in the fourth quarter. So I don't know. I think it had some effect, but I still think there was something inherently wrong with Florida State. They were just out of it that first half or so.
Yeah, I agree with that. And then there's a go ahead, Ira.
Well, I was going to say one thing. The funny thing about halftime of that game, and we were watching it here at the house because ESPNU is rebroadcasting it. I was showing my daughters that like this game was like one of the first ones that I remember, or at least one of the first big ones that we were covering in the Twitter era, where people could like old takes got exposed really quickly. Because remember, in the second quarter, when all the national media were just killing Florida State and all the SEC speed stuff and Dan Wolken with the schedule matters and all that, people are still bringing those tweets back out 6 years later. I mean, that's never going to end. I mean, 10 years from now, 20 years from now, but it feels like that was one of the first times that, at least I remember, that the nation really was watching a game together on social media.
Well, and so many people thought this Florida State team was a product of an easy schedule, and that they didn't understand the amount of talent that was on the team. It took literally until like 2016, when all the guys were in the NFL and some of them were all pros, that people understood, oh, no, wait, that was an all-time talented team. They thought, yeah, it's a good team, but it's a good team in a bad conference, which wasn't true. That Clemson team was really good. In the next year, 2014, there were a lot of good teams in the conference that year. But Florida State, I think, just got penalized because it was the ACC. People didn't understand what they were watching. And they so wanted, for some reason, to see Florida State fail against an SEC school because that continued the narrative. And then when it starts when you're 21-3, you're like, oh, yeah, Florida State was a fraud. Well, no, they weren't a fraud. They just didn't play well for whatever.
We lose Corey there, Gene.
Yeah, he froze up on my screen. I don't know. Are we? Hopefully, we're still live. I don't know. Are we?
Yeah.
All right. We got the voice from above that people can't hear that we are still live. Hopefully, Corey can get back in there. But first of all, it's kind of funny about what you said about social media, Ira, because we've been seeing it on a war chant for 20 years. Yeah. Where the people will chime in. If you're ever a war chant during the game, it's hilarious. I mean, I encourage you, if you want to laugh, go in during the first half, especially when Florida State's struggling. You got to fire all the coaches. All the players are horrible. And then the same people an hour later are all, raving about Florida State, how great they're playing. So that's been going on war chant message boards for a while. But it's interesting. I don't know if you saw, I posted the other day on the Yahoo, I think it was like the top, they did like a tournament style, the top teams of all time for the last like 50 years. And I couldn't believe this Florida State team was a 14 seed. And I think that narrative of this team was overrated and playing in a bad conference, I still think it's alive and well today, because it's amazing when you look at the numbers. I think it's still the most points scored offensively in history in college football, and to still be a 14 seed, and teams that were just very kind of mediocre were ahead of them on that seeding.
When I saw one that was of the championship or the college football playoff era, and they had the 2014 team in there. I'm not sure if that was the same one you saw or not.
No, that's a different one, yeah, because they had like the 95 Nebraska team was in there, which was up like a number 1 or 2 seed, and some of the other ones. So, I mean, there were some ones like a Penn State team that was rated higher that like barely beat Illinois and Indiana that year when they won it ahead of Florida State. So again, it just seems whatever reason, the national media just will not buy into this 2013 Florida State team.
When they were just coming off the field in this drive, to your point, this next drive, and I'm a little bit behind because I'm watching it on a streaming service as opposed to the direct cable. But when they're coming off for that timeout, Jimbo's yelling at Jameis to calm down, because he still was kind of starting to press. And I think in the second half, those first couple of possessions, I think he definitely was pressing. But, when you watch this game and, we covered that team at the time when Corey was talking about the overall talent, you kind of forget, until you see it on the screen, who all they had at every position. They showed the graphic of the offensive linemen, and you see Stork and Matias and Bobby Hart. And I mean, it's just at every position. Then you show the secondary and Terrence Brooks and Jalen Ramsey and Ronald Darby played well at times in this game. I mean, they just had, and then you compare it to what we're seeing, we've seen the last 2 or 3 years, and you can say all you want about coaching, but how much of it really goes back to talent.
And that's the thing, too. As Corey put it, at the time, Governor, Florida State plays a number 3 Clemson team there. Clemson was a favorite in that game, and they win 51-14. I think Clemson scored the last touchdown against the backups late, so it's really 51-7. At Clemson, a number 3 team you're not favored against. That's how dominant this team was that season. And like you said, you and I, when we saw this every day, it was just unbelievable how just they imposed their will on everyone. So it's a shame that this team will never get its just desserts. Corey, you back with us?
I'm back. Sorry about that, gang. Sorry about that, everyone. I know you had to listen to them while I was gone, but now the Star's back for probably another 4 or 5 minutes before I get kicked off again. I didn't miss anything, though, in the game. They went to another commercial.
Are you still using those AOL discs to get online? Is that what's going on?
Yeah. Well, no, it's my phone connection. It's a 28.8 modem.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and it keeps my phone signal's not going well.
I miss those old. What was it? Those crazy sounds used to make that.
Yeah. You're like, I'm connected. There's Charles Barkley, showing Charles Barkley in the stands. I guess I assumed he was there, but I didn't know he was there for sure. This looks like an all right drive so far, right, Gene? A couple first downs.
They got Jim when they came off before the timeout. Jimbo was yelling at Jameis to calm down.
There's and then Jameis with an 8-yard run. Man, he's got the grace of a gazelle. It is crazy that he made so many people miss. He's just not. There's not a lot of fast twitch there, but he's really strong and really competitive, so that helps.
He's got good body control.
He does have that.
Is this a field goal drive? Are we getting a field goal out of this one?
I think it might be.
Yeah,
I haven't watched this game in a couple years, so I don't know for sure.
You know who looked good? Barkley looked good, by the way. But you know who also looked good? Did you watch the kick or the pregame coin toss? Coach Bowden looked really good.
Yeah,
he looked really good. I mean, it's 6 years ago, but he was done coaching for 4 years, and he still looked really good.
I don't remember Chad Abram getting the ball on a handoff the whole season, and he just got that first down run right there. That's Big Pad Chad.
Big Pad Chad.
I bet he couldn't have had more than 15 carries the whole year. I don't know that they'd ever given him the ball out of that look with 2 backs, but they did, and they got the first down. So Jimbo's going deep into the bag of tricks because he knows Damian Craig's never seen that.
He's going against tendencies.
Yeah, for sure.
I do wonder.
Maybe he'll do that in the fourth quarter. Maybe we'll see Big Chad. Maybe he'll even throw him the football. You never know.
Yeah, that was.
That's true. That might happen. That's and now so now Kelvin Benjamin's gotten involved. This is actually a much better throw than it looks, I think, because that safety's coming over the top, and that's a really nice catch by Benjamin right there down the sideline.
I don't think they can hear Aslan, but he chimed in that somebody asked us to do this for the 2014 Florida State Oregon game. I don't know about that one. I think I will delegate that to Ira and Corey.
I'll do the 2018 Virginia Tech game.
Oh,
we good for that? We'll do great moments and not great moments in Florida State history. We can do all of it. They keep replaying the Benjamin catch. That really was. That was probably their biggest play of the game at that moment.
So you definitely think Jameis underthrew it on purpose?
I mean, if he throws it well, Benjamin gets lit up or it's an interception. So it looked to me like he did. Yeah.
I agree. It just that takes a lot of hand talent.
The 2013 Jameis, I give him the benefit of the doubt and say he absolutely meant to put it there. The post 2013 Jameis,
not so sure.
No, I mean he can't. It's a flip of the coin.
But speaking of that Oregon game, again, man, like I'll go to my grave saying that Florida State if Dalvin just doesn't start turning the ball over, they're going to win that game. I mean, they were dominating after falling behind. Dalvin was unbelievable. He was the best player on the field until he started fumbling.
Yeah.
And
they couldn't stop the run. Yeah.
And people look at the final score and talk about how great Oregon was. Man, Florida State was going to win that game. But
yeah, well, it was, my opinion, Ira, they shouldn't even been out there. It was ridiculous that they were out there.
Hey, they're just lucky they got in the playoff, Corey.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, they didn't have game. That was the game control. Yeah, they didn't have that. Yeah. I did see on the sideline a little while ago, and I had forgotten about him. The Legend of Red Lightning. He made a little brief cameo there on the sideline bench.
Haven't won a national title since he left. He's back in the program, though. He is back in the program.
They just showed John Franklin wearing the baseball cap behind Jimbo. A lot of old faces in this one. There's Sean McGuire behind Jimbo too. Ironic. So here again, right now is another big deal, man, when it comes to these types of games. This is not a gimme by any stretch of the imagination. This is unbelievable pressure. It's from the right hash. It's a 41-yard field goal with a freshman kicker, and he sneaks it in there. He makes it. And remember, Auburn missed like a really short field goal in the second quarter that obviously proved very costly. So when you have a kicker like that, man, that changes and I tweeted about it last night. Like when you talk about all-time great teams, nobody ever brings up kickers. But if you have one all-time great team against another all-time great team, special teams plays a huge role in it. And Florida State had the best kicker out of any of them, in my opinion. The dude never missed in his first 2 years in college.
The stat before
Go ahead, Ira.
I was going to say the stat before he kicked that field goal. He was 110 of 111 on kicks that season.
Yeah, that made it 111 out of 112.
That's pretty good. I was going to say, if you want to vote for him right now, we've got our contest going on, Summer Madness. And Berto is taking on number 3 seed Ron Stark. So that's actually pretty close right now when I look at the voting. So go to our tribal council if you want to put in your vote for either one of those guys.
Ron Stark, by the way, so I wrote those up last night, the matchups, and I obviously knew he was great. My dad told me stories forever about him. But he had 12 punts of over 60 yards. He had 2 70-yarders. It's incredible, that guy's leg. But yeah, vote. I mean, I voted. I did not vote for Ron Stark. I guess I should say that. But Ron Stark was very good. But it's going to be really interesting with Janikowski and Aguayo, because I'm telling you, I know Janikowski's the bigger name and he had a much better NFL career, but there's nobody that's been a better college kicker than Roberto Aguayo.
What is interesting about that is the punting, because somebody pointed out that it's hard, even if you look at Ron Stark's numbers, as impressive they are now, they were so much more impressive then because nobody punted that. I mean, like 40-yard punts were like really good punts. 45-yard punts were great punts. I mean, you just didn't see people booming punts the way they do now. And also field goals. I mean, remember like field goal kickers and with the wider goalposts, like it was almost like, I don't know when it changed to, it's almost like automatic now for kickers. Not, pressure situations. Obviously we see a lot of guys fail in college football, especially, but the ability of kickers and punters, that's probably as much as anything has changed completely in the last like 30 years.
Word. I love those.
A lot of commercials here.
I love the blimp shots. They'll come back right now to a blimp shot. And for the people that don't know, and I assume most of you don't, because why would you have been to Pasadena except for this game? But if you didn't go, I had no idea that thing was on a golf course. It's like literally that stadium is in the middle of a neighborhood next to a golf course. Did you know that, Ira, before you got out there?
No, not until we got out there.
I was like, I was convinced the bus driver was lost taking us there, because I'm like, there's no way there's a 100,000 seat stadium in the middle of this suburban neighborhood.
Yeah, you're like driving down side streets on the bus to get there.
There's another Aguayo with a little pooch kick to perfection. That's another thing that gets overlooked with him is his kickoffs. And the Auburn kid fumbled it, but then recovered it.
That's twice, man. They fumbled kickoffs, but both of them they were able to get.
Hopped on them both, yeah.
And the other thing, if you haven't been out there, I mean, a lot of FSU fans were out there for those games, that one or the next year. But if you haven't, and you get an opportunity to go to the Rose Bowl, it is unbelievable. The mountains, it's just incredible. I mean, it's probably second only to Shreveport, Corey. Is Shreveport probably number one?
In fact, do you see what shirt I'm wearing? I'm representing the Walk-Ons Bowl. Yeah, I would say Pasadena's like the Shreveport of California. It's what they're aiming to be. maybe a little different landscapes, but still both beautiful in their own way.
Well, I think we were spoiled here being in the press box because you guys probably talked to fans too. They were sitting in the stands. You heard a lot of complaints about the how tightly packed in everyone was, the lack of facilities. So you're there for the beauty. Obviously, weather's great, the mountains in the background. We were just living the life in the press box, but apparently it's not the most fan-friendly place to go watch a game.
All those old stadiums, I think, are tough.
Yeah, they're like glorified high school stadiums, really just huge high school stadiums. By the way, that was Tim Jernigan on that tackle. He was incredible in this game. And he did his little, when he'd make a play, do his little loco sign. So, yeah, he was really good, especially in the second half, I feel like, in this game. Until he got really winded late, they couldn't block the kid.
That is one thing I was saying.
Again, he just beat his man and forced an incomplete pass. He was awesome. Hey, there's Jacoby McDaniel.
Yeah, I thought in the first half the defensive line was a little cut off guard. I mean, they just had a hard time, I think, dealing with what Auburn was doing. But then they really settled down in the second half, also.
Yeah,
Nick Marshall's better than I thought he was going into the game. I mean, he was tough.
And credit to the defense here because they really needed for Florida State to come back in this third quarter. I mean, they shut Auburn down. I mean, they were not able to do anything offensively, and they moved the ball at will in the first half. So this was really important for them. And old Mr. Pruitt on the sideline. That was kind of weird when I saw him on the sideline because it seemed odd because he coached at Florida State such a short period of time.
Yeah, just the 1 year. We don't even know what the commercial, do we? Looks like we do.
It is like a reunion though. You get to see Vic Valori on the sideline and Pruitt, and I mean it's just and like you said, guys that moved on. John Franklin ended up going to Auburn. He didn't have a whole lot more success there than he did at Florida State. A couple of guys that played better in this game that I remember playing him, like Ronald Darby, I thought played better in this game than he did at any point in 2014.
Yeah. Darby, yeah, he did. He was really good in this game. He was a good player. Him and PJ both in 2014, I just thought took kind of odd step backs or step sideways. They didn't get any better at all than they were in 2013. I didn't think, from my point of view.
Yeah, it just seemed like I don't think it was necessarily all Charles Kelly's fault. I feel like they really bought into Jeremy Pruitt and what he was trying to do, and then Charles Kelly took a different approach with some things. I just don't think they ever really bought in and played with great conviction. And then I think you probably had some guys making some business decisions at times as well, because that whole defense I feel like would have gone pro that year if they could have.
Yeah. They played they would play hard when they needed to. Speaking of, the Saints just re-signed P.J. Williams to a one-year deal.
It's true. Oh, good for him.
And Timmy Jernigan just signed with the Texans last night, and I think Darby signed with the Redskins a couple days ago. So a lot of guys from this game getting paid.
Nice. Isn't speaking of PJ, isn't he going to make a pretty big play here coming up here? Maybe not this series, but the one after this. I think, and that really is a huge turning point. I don't know if it's this series or the next one, but I know he comes up with a huge pick.
I feel like that happened in the fourth quarter, his interception.
Okay. So maybe it's Auburn's next series after this one.
The Jalen Ramsey, the missed tackles later, right? That's on the
that's on their go-ahead
run,
touchdown.
Right? The Heisman run.
Yeah. That's what it'll ever be forever known as. His Heisman moment.
Well, I think we'll have a spirited conversation about that play because there's a lot going on in that play.
Don't.
Yeah, we'll get to it.
So what commercials? I know you guys are watching online. What commercial or streaming it? What commercials are you watching right now?
I've had about 20 minutes of The Bachelor. That's all I'm seeing. I see no football, just Bachelor continual ads.
I just get that ESPN commercial break. We'll be right back.
You're missing the CB1 weight gainer. It starts with this woman talking about how she put on 40 pounds. And that's the ad, is you can add weight, you can add muscle, the CB1 weight gainer.
She wanted to put on 40 pounds?
Yeah. Yeah, pretty odd.
Twist?
Yeah, it was a twist. Now they must have a contractual obligation that when you film the Rose Bowl, when you broadcast the Rose Bowl, you have to show the outside of the stadium a minimum of 35 times.
Well, you're there, man.
Every time they come back from commercial, they either do a stadium shot or a shot of the side of the Rose Bowl stadium. And
in the Walk-Ons Bowl, they have a contract where they're not allowed to show any parts of Shreveport.
They can't show the pig on the roof
Nope.
at the livestock fair. Yeah, they can't show any of that stuff.
Nope.
Wow, that's a stat too. So yeah, I know you guys can't see this yet. So for the whole season, Florida State trailed for 38 minutes going into this game. And then right now they're up to 29 minutes trailing in just this game alone. So it ends up they trail more in this game than they trailed the entire season.
Well, Corey, they're going to make up for that in 2014, I'm thinking.
That's a good point. Very good point.
This is kind of a sign of things to come, because this game script here was pretty much what we saw every other game in 2014.
Yeah, it's like they liked it. They enjoyed the drama of it. That's a bad drop by Kelvin Benjamin right there. That's a really nice throw by Jameis. That's at least a 15, 16-yard gain. And Kelvin, who had the dropsies at times, couldn't haul that one in. I don't know if you guys remember, but he hauls in a pass later in the game. That's a big one. Yeah. So stay tuned.
That's good.
So even that one, you can't say like that. That's not a Damian Craig defended us. That was just a drop by a first-round pick.
Yeah, that was a crazy drop. I mean, he makes that catch 99% of the time. I mean, it's every receiver, like any college receiver, has got to make that catch, and it's for a first down. I mean,
and remember, right before Carlos's punt, a fake punt, Rashad had the worst drop of his life on just a simple out route where he's got, he would have gotten 15 yards on that play, and he just drops the ball. So that was the only reason they were punting in the first place. Jimbo's unhappy there. Oh, yeah, there's Red Lightning right there. Y'all about to see Red Lightning right next to Jimbo as he expresses his disgust with that play.
Yeah, that was a cluster. That play looked like 2018 or 2019 Florida State football.
Another Beatty bomb coming up here.
So they're down.
And he dropped that one too. What? I don't remember. Literally, I don't remember this at all. I don't remember that Auburn fumbled or muffed 3 different kicks and recovered them all. It's like they hadn't done any scouting report on Beatty.
So Florida State was down 21-13 here.
Yeah.
So even there, they're still not clicking, but they're hanging around.
They're within a possession. Yeah, and really, the end of the game, I know Auburn goes down and has 2 real good drives at the end of the game, but the defense saved them this stretch here.
Yeah.
The defense kept them in the game. And it was a really good defense. And I know Benjamin and Jameis and Kermit get a lot of the credit for the comeback and the win, but what the defense did in the second half made it all possible. That was a really good defense, as we just alluded to with all the guys in the NFL.
Just again to think about the comparison from then to now or the last couple of years, like Christian Jones was like an afterthought on that defense. I mean, he was a big part of it because that move really solidified things, getting him down as a pass rusher. But he wasn't one of the 6 or 7 main guys on that defense. But if you put him on Florida State's defense the last couple of years, I mean, he might be as good as anybody out there.
Yeah, and remember though when they switched him to defensive end, and no offense to my man, but when they got Dan Hicks off the field
it's a big deal.
put Christian Jones and Terrence Smith on the field, that's when the defense really changed. That's when that was the Boston College game is when they decided to put Christian Jones at defensive end and put Terrence Smith at linebacker, and that changed everything.
It really did.
There's Jernigan again. I'm surprised. I guess it's just been injuries, but I mean he's been in the NFL now he's about to be his 7th year, so it's not like he's had a bad career. He's been a good player in the NFL, but just I wish he could get over the injuries because he was the best defensive lineman Jimbo had, right?
He had Eddie Goldman, but I would say Jernigan was more dominant in my mind.
Yeah, Jernigan made more flash plays than Eddie did. Eddie had that great game against Clemson and was really solid at what he did, but Jernigan was a next level. And then there's and there's LaMarcus Joyner. Like it's just every play, you're like, oh yeah, there's another second-round pick. Oh, there's another guy that's still in the league.
It's crazy to see Joyner, Telvin Smith, all those guys that Ramsey, all those guys back there. I mean, it's unbelievable the kind of speed and players they had back in that back 7.
Actually,
speed, baby.
I actually tweeted about it. That first staff, Jimbo's first staff, those first 2 or 3 years, I guess 6 or 7 of those guys weren't here for this game. I mean, Eddie Gran, Mark Stoops, James Coley, that whole staff of recruiters, Hudson, that first staff of recruiters he had, they all ended up leaving. 6 of them ended up leaving after 2012.
Right.
So they weren't here for this, but that's who built this team.
Yeah, they stockpiled this.
I mean, Jimbo is the head coach. He deserves, the lion's share of the credit, but that staff was an amazing recruiting staff.
That's a really big play by Terrence Brooks there, my man, favorite guy on that team. ripping that ball out, because that would have been that's Melvin Ray, right? Yeah, on Melvin Ray, Tallahassee's own Melvin Ray, who played high school football with Clint Trickett and was a professional baseball player for a few years. And I believe the only touchdown of his career, or at least one of the very few, was the one he had in the first half of this game, where nobody was within 20 yards of him. But yeah, and then Terrence Brooks, you think about Terrence Brooks, man, you talk about an afterthought. I mean, he's not an afterthought. He's an awesome player, but he's the 5th or 6th guy you think of when you think of that secondary. He might be the 11th guy or 10th guy you think of that defense as a whole, and he's still in the league.
And that was an NFL play right there. I mean, he's see the ball, he just rips it out.
Did they get that? This is a touchback, right? His foot's in the end zone. Are they saying that he saved it from? Did Florida State have to start at the 1?
Well, they did earlier. He done an earlier one. It looked like a Graham Gano kick where he, in the first half, they pinned him down on the 1 or 2 yard line. That punter was pretty darn good for Auburn. There's no doubt about it.
It does matter, though, that he's standing in the end zone when he hits
His foot
it, right?
is in the end zone, yeah.
I guess it doesn't. They get the ball somehow at the 4.
Yeah, but if you're touching the goal line when you touch the ball, doesn't that mean
I guess not.
Are we sure they don't come out of the timeout and change it?
No, I'm watching it right now. They got
really?
4, yeah. Are you in a timeout?
No, I'm still getting there, though. I'm watching a replay of the kick.
Yeah. No, they start at the 4.
Touches the line. Huh.
The ref was right there.
So, yeah, but I wonder, maybe that's not a rule. Maybe if the ball doesn't cross the goal line, it doesn't. We should probably know that. But if the ball doesn't cross the goal line,
so you're allowed to stand in the end zone. I didn't know that either.
I don't think that's true.
I don't either. I think that was just a terrible call, but maybe not. There's little James Wilder action. The biggest, probably him and Jameis and Mario Edwards were the 3 highest rated recruits on this team, right? On the whole team would have been Wilder and Edwards and Jameis.
I think, yeah.
Well, Christian Jones was a 5-star too.
Jalen was a 5-star, wasn't he?
He was, but I think
overall higher.
Overall on the list.
Yeah.
So that's kind of that was kind of a bad luck too, is that Florida State's field position has been so bad this whole game, really.
Yeah.
Oh, there's a that's a post 2013 Jameis throw right there. That's a throw you see a lot in the NFL. You just wonder kind of what's going on there. I mean, you see who he's throwing to, but man, oh man.
I'm waiting to see the play because we're a little bit behind.
You're going to see it. Throws it right at number 8. Kenny Shaw's wide open, but instead of lofting it to him, which if he makes a loft, if he lofts the ball towards the sideline, maybe that's a touchdown. Instead, it was almost an interception.
So where do you think James is going to end up in the league?
Somewhere, I mean, he's got to go somewhere as a backup, right?
Yeah, I was listening to a podcast this morning, and they were saying there's a little vibe about Pittsburgh that he would back up Ben Roethlisberger for a year or two. He's a similar type quarterback. I think that'd be a good destination for him.
And I also think that organization is such a winning organization. I think that the structure, the culture of that organization would really help him. I think that'd be a great move for him. I heard the Saints too, but yeah, if he's willing to go be a backup, which I don't know that he has a choice, I would think Pittsburgh would be a great. And plus, man, he loves that stadium.
That's true.
He's only thrown 2 incompletions in that stadium. Yeah.
Their rivals will have a lot of fun with that. Jameis and Big Ben together.
Yeah, well, sure. But, hey, who better? They're the same. They're literally like the same kind of.
Physically, 100%. Yeah, 100%. And, you would think, I don't know if Big Ben's the kind of guy that's going to take somebody under their wing and nurture them.
He doesn't strike me as that kind of guy. The nurturing type.
Feel like Wenke and Chris Ricks.
Yeah, right.
But I still think he's got a chance. I mean, I just don't understand. I don't understand the interceptions. I just don't understand it. I mean, I got it in 2014. I think he was so overconfident, and you can kind of excuse him. But 2013, he didn't throw. I mean, like you said, that one could have been picked off, the one we just saw. But he just wasn't. I don't know what happened to him where he just does not give the defense any credit, and just is not hesitant at all to throw the ball into traffic. It's crazy.
Hey, you live by it, you die by it.
And you think that's a thing. I kind of wasn't surprised the first year or two in the NFL because, frankly, the speed's a little different. I mean, you're playing against elite athletes. all over the field. But you think after a year or two, if anything, he's gotten worse every year. I mean, how many was it? 31 this year he threw interception, something like that.
Come on, Gene. It was just 30.
Oh, okay, bad.
Corey, you guys were talking about it on Wake Up War Chant the other day, the tremendously popular morning podcast at War Chant with Aslan. You were saying how, you got to give him credit for the 5,000 yards and the 30 touchdowns, but it's also like, yeah, he was also getting the ball back so quickly. Like he had so many more at bats because of the pick sixes. I mean, he threw like
true.
He threw seven.
Yeah, he threw 7 pick sixes, which is an NFL record. And his last throw as a Buccaneer was a pick six. And I believe wasn't his first throw a pick six?
I don't know. That would
I'm
be a good
almost
bookend.
positive his first throw was definitely because remember he played Mariota in the first game. And I swear Jameis's first throw was a pick six. But I know his last throw was, hey, there's another stadium shot. Guys, if you're looking at the stadium, the golf course is on the left. If you're looking at the image right now, and obviously you see how the cars parked, a lot of those cars are just parked in grass.
Yeah.
So give me a little behind the scenes.
They also had that the FSU boosters had that big social gathering.
That's right.
Like in that I guess on the course or whatever, off in the grass over there.
I couldn't get into it. I thought being who I was, a beloved member of the Florida State media, they would allow me in, but it didn't happen.
You should have told me you were Mike Bianchi.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, sure, that would have got me. That opens all the doors.
Well, you always say Heather Dinich. That would have definitely got you in.
Yeah, exactly right.
And that was pre-war chant, Corey. That's why nowadays, you roll in.
I can get into
that
it.
Big W on your shirt. You're right in there.
I'm fine.
Starting the fourth quarter?
Starting the fourth quarter, another third down that Florida State does not pick up because they only picked up one the entire game. This, that's just he wasn't open. I don't know if he threw it too late, but the Auburn DB makes a nice play to break up that pass to Benjamin. You feel like there had to be somebody more open than that, but yeah, they were there.
Coming into this quarter, Jameis had only thrown 25 passes in the fourth quarter of games. Remember, like no games were even competitive after like sometimes after halftime.
I can't even think of I think like it would have been one of those Jimbo things where he just wanted him to work on. You know how Jimbo would never like he'd leave him in maybe a series too long just to work on some things. I don't remember him throwing a pass that mattered in the fourth quarter that year. Maybe Boston College. He threw a couple. That's the only one I could think of that he would have been in the fourth quarter of any of those games. Oh, and I think the pass to O'Leary where he went like 90 yards against Clemson and got tackled at the 5. I think that was in the fourth quarter. But he didn't. Yeah, obviously he didn't throw many. He averaged two fourth quarter passes, 2 a game. That's crazy. Okay, so we saw. Oh, this is fun. We saw one play out of the quarter break. It was an incomplete pass, a punt, and now we have another commercial.
Yeah. Now we know why the second half was going to take 2 hours, Gene.
Yeah, 3.5 hours total for this game because they're going to show a commercial after. They can speed up. They can just say, all right, now we move ahead further into the next drive.
Well, they actually did that in the first half. I had it on, and then they skipped a couple. They skipped a series or two, which is crazy because I think the broadcast is 3.5 hours long, and they actually skipped a series or two in the first half. So I guess it would have been 4.5 hours long had they continued at this pace.
Just to give people a little sneak preview, reason to hang on here till the end of the game, besides the fact that it goes well for Florida State. So Corey, why don't you tell everybody about that? Well, you can kind of relive it a little bit during the final drive, but the piece you did for the magazine at our previous employer where, you kind of broke down the final drive with Jimbo.
We'll get into that more as it gets there. But yeah, Jimbo.
You can tease it.
I'm going to tease it. I sat down with Jimbo. This would have been in spring of 14. Sat down in his office and watched not this broadcast, but the All 22 film of the final drive. And he talked me through play by play, what they were doing, what they were thinking, what the first read was. And then I wrote a really good story that you guys should have read. But you didn't, apparently. Or you did. Maybe you did. Maybe you're watching this and you were one of the ones that read it. So I appreciate that. But, it was really interesting. Because the point I tried to make in that article was like, there was a lot of pressure on Jameis, the quarterback, and the players. There's also a lot of pressure on the dude calling plays. Like that was there was nothing left. It was a minute 10, 2 timeouts. We knew that was the end of the game. So there was a lot of pressure on him too.
Hey, Corey, I don't know if you saw the poll, but it looks like, if you missed it, those who are watching, we were able to look back at that 91 Michigan game. So check that out on there. Corey and I talk about it. You have a write-up on it. And overwhelmingly, Corey, they are voting for the Chokadoke. So it looks like Maybe tomorrow we'll do that. Maybe have it out for next week. But yeah, I think that can't go wrong with a choke at dope.
No. And we can just fast forward to the fourth quarter. We don't have to mention what happened in the first three quarters. Yeah, no, that's a good one. We were both. You were at that game, I assume.
Oh, of course, yeah.
And you stayed.
Yes, I did, and I've got lots of stories about people who did not stay.
Yes, right. My dad was almost one of them. We almost left, but in reality, we really wanted to see Thad Busby play. We're like, let's just see Thad Busby will get a couple series at the end of the game. Let's just watch him play. That's the only reason we stayed. And then Danny Cannell kept playing. All right, I think coming up is the PJ play. They had just run for a first down, and then that's a really great play. That's a great play by PJ right there to get in the backfield. They did basically a speed sweep. I think let me see what happens here. You guys are about to see it, but PJ gets speed sweep with the receiver coming in motion. PJ gets to the outside and makes him go backwards, and then Terrence Smith wraps him up. Those are all 11 of these guys played in the NFL.
They were
really fast. Oh, yeah, I just saw it. Yeah.
Didn't we find out like Timmy Jernigan was sick or something too? Like after the game?
I thought he was just cramping up, but was it because he was sick?
Yeah, maybe. I can't remember, but yeah. Yeah, it was a good play by PJ. Terrence Smith.
Yeah.
Clean it up.
And then, like Gene said, this is one of the plays of the game right here. And really big of LaMarcus Joyner to grab that ball. Because that was a fumble. I don't know if they called it a fumble, but it was. So really heads up that finally Florida State recovered a fumble. Just a really nice play by PJ. Not a great throw, obviously, but they had to throw it because it was 2nd and 17. They didn't want to throw it. And Jalen crushes the receiver anyway.
Yeah.
I don't know how he fumbled that. It's not got to be a little more secure with the ball, PJ. So that's when I thought that play right there. I think all of a sudden Auburn's like, oh no.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they're only up 7. They've dominated the game, or up 8. They've dominated the game, and it's an 8-point game early in the fourth, and you just got to pick at midfield. So yeah, you're absolutely right. And the way they were hanging in the game, and you still had Jameis despite what had happened. You had Freeman, you had Green, Rashad, you had Kelvin. You figured there's no way this team offense is going to be bottled up for 4 quarters.
Right. And again, Auburn's defense hadn't been good all year. It's not like they were playing one of those great Florida or Clemson defenses where you could see, okay, they're just really good. They haven't seen anything like this. Florida State had played better defenses than this and lit them up.
Was that Jalen in the background of the play?
Jalen's the one that hits the receiver.
He might have picked it off too.
If
PJ did.
No, it wasn't a good throw there by old Nick. So I feel like the energy in the stadium changed on that interception. And then even a play like this helps. Instead of a negative play where there's nobody open at first and Jameis forces something or gets sacked, he dumps it down. Not a good throw, but he dumps it down to Devontae for 8 yards, and all of a sudden the drive is on. I think that's just getting positive yards on the first down as you've got momentum. I think they're starting to shrink on the other sideline or get a little worried that, oh man, here they come, they're not going away, and then you've got the momentum on your sideline. I know David Hale and people like that don't believe in momentum, but it really does exist.
No, I mean, we're human beings. I mean, that's why it exists. Did you one of the cool things about the end of this game is how, like, just talking to fans who are in the end zone.
Real quick, I'm just going to point it out because we don't mention them ever. Bobby Hart on this Devontae Freeman run is pile driving his guy 18 yards downfield. So just want to point that out. But go ahead, sorry.
Just the stories. I mean, talking to Shanna or all the different friends we have, Tom Segura, all these different people who were in the stands during that game, and they talk about that moment when Kelvin Benjamin catches the pass. Like, do you guys miss that? Because you guys started off as huge Florida State fans. Do you guys miss, like, would you have rather been in the stands for those moments than doing what we do?
I would have rather been in the stands with my dad, but so once he passed away, not to bring this show way, way down, I'm okay. I'm a little more okay missing those moments. I would have loved to have been there with him to celebrate something like that. But otherwise, no. I get it with my Falcons, Ira. You know that.
Oh yeah.
Falcons and Braves give me a lot of joy. That's a really big time throw right there, by the way, from Jameis to Kelvin. Kelvin's starting to It's like all of a sudden they decided we're just throwing it to one every time we got to throw it.
We had a good shot at the towel guys there before that too.
Gene, what do you think? Do you miss that? Do you miss jumping in people's arms?
Yeah, I mean, a little. Yeah, I mean, to share a moment like that with friends would be great. Instead of sitting in the box working, but I'm not going to complain. I have the greatest job in the world, so I don't. I'm not going to complain about it. But sure,
Right.
a moment like that, if you could spend it with friends or family and celebrate and have a nice cold one. I don't know if I guess you could. I don't know. You're allowed to drink there. I don't even remember then, but to be able to do that kind of stuff would have been fun. But I'm not. It's nothing to complain about.
I got a question for you guys. So
That's a pretty agile move by Chad Abram right there.
Oh yeah, how about this? Big Bad Chad.
That's a really agile move to stay in bounds and get in the end zone for a big dude.
Well, that's when I knew at that point Florida State was going to win. There's no way. Auburn had played so well and had dominated, and then suddenly Florida State's right in the game with plenty of time left.
And do you remember this ridiculous unsportsmanlike on Devontae Freeman?
Oh, it was ridiculous.
Abram scores a touchdown. They're going to go for two, but then it's like, well, with 11 minutes left, I don't know. They still try to go for two from the 18. They have to because it's not on the kickoff. They have to go back to the 18. So no, they don't. They kick the extra point, and they called on Freeman for I think just turning to the Auburn sideline and like raising his arms out or something. He didn't do anything worse than my man doing the Heisman pose, but Freeman was called and Jimbo's like, why are you doing that to their sideline? Which I get, but there's Bobby Hart putting his arm around him. That's funny. But it's just such a crazy call. And then I don't know I assume they show it, the replay. They haven't yet, but I assume they show it.
Well, especially in a fourth quarter of a national championship game, if you're going to call taunting like that, you better be pretty certain about it.
By the way, my man just rips right down the middle, essentially whatever that would have been, a 38-yard field goal. I know it's an extra point, but it was a long extra point because of the unsportsmanlike, and he just rips it down the middle like it's nothing. Keep in mind, Florida State lost 2 national championships on kicks that were that distance or less. So anyway,
let me ask you guys a question I would ask. So KB kind of takes over, has the big play here, a lot of big plays. And you think back to like when his freshman year, when he first came in, and I know Gene was out there probably a little bit more than Corey was originally, but when we saw him as a freshman when he came in, would you have ever what would it have taken for somebody to get you to bet that Kelvin Benjamin would end up being that kind of a player? Because I mean, he was a mess when he came in as a true freshman.
He was. Yeah, I remember when Michael and I went down to his school. Even back then, no one thought he was going to qualify back then, even initially. So it was Florida State stayed on him, which really helped them, which helped Jimbo and everybody be able to bring him in because a couple of other schools kind of dropped out and stayed on him. But yeah, he was a guy who had struggles academically, was out of shape, didn't have the best attitude. But I mean, that's a credit to the coaching staff to be able to develop him and get him on the right track to get that kind of contribution out. You saw the size, you saw the ability, but as we know, we see it all the time, guys like that are all potential, but there's so much for them to overcome, and he did it. Credit to him and credit to the coaching staff.
Yeah, I mean, I would guess he was probably 30 pounds overweight as a freshman, and you're like, okay, he's not going to get on the field, and if he does, it would be as a tight end. But the way Jimbo always talked about him when he signed him, because he was a big deal. He was a 4-star guy, but he wasn't Sammy Watkins coming out of high school. He wasn't a 5-star kid. But the way Jimbo talked about him was like he was a game changer. And so you always thought that you always knew that there must be something there. And then his redshirt freshman year, he had some big moments. He still wasn't this guy, but he had some big moments. But I do remember, I think it was at the Orange Bowl after they beat Northern Illinois. He had a tweet about being mad or angry or wanting to go calling it BS because he didn't get any passes thrown to him. And you're like, okay, this kid's either going to get it right now or he's never going to make anything of his ability. And
you know who I think retweeted him or liked it was Bobby Hart. Like they were both pissed.
Yeah. Really? That's weird.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't think there was a few of them that were not happy at that point. That's the thing, man. Like it's always we've talked about a lot of times that like the success you have on the field and how you're doing totally changes the players' opinions of the coaches.
Sure.
So like at that point, like in 2012, especially towards the end of that season after they lost to Florida and NC State, a lot of the players were not high on Jimbo at all. But then the next year they win it all. And all of a sudden, if you go ask those same players, like Jimbo's the greatest coach they've ever played for. But in 2012, because they were not, it's totally different.
Was not going to be an issue going forward, a situation like that? Does Kelvin Benjamin transfer to Alabama or somewhere else because he doesn't like how he's playing? And of course,
sure.
Now especially you're going to have the one rule where you can transfer, at will whenever you want, at least once. So, I mean, I think we're going to see a lot more of that kind of shakeup where guys aren't going to stick with the team.
Yeah, that's a good point. And that was the whole thing with the portal. The big complaint the coaches have, the administrators have, is they used to have to actually go talk to somebody before they really put their name out there. Now they just fill out a form, turn it in, and they're in the portal. So that's it's a good point. He probably would have gone in at that point.
I mean, literally, they're showing Devontae right now. Just look at the Auburn sideline, and he's backing up to his own sideline, like doing this, and he got flagged for. The guy that threw the flag was 45 yards away on the opposite sideline. Devontae's backing up to his own sideline, just doing this, and he got flagged for it. Anyway, that's the most bizarre.
I'm watching it right now to see what he did. I wonder if it's the same ref that did the non-horse collar here. Which
no, it's it's the other side judge. And then there's Jernigan again being Jernigan.
Yeah, He pointed up there. I get technically it probably was, but man, that's happening
in that moment in the game. You could just rush over to him and say, "Don't worry about it." But they do that all the time. Every time a guy gets up and deflects a pass, he does this or does that. I mean, he wasn't like he was humping the ground right in front of him.
He didn't take a leak in the end zone.
Yeah, he didn't raise his leg and pee on their mascot.
And the defense is
down there.
Saw Timmy with another big stop.
Yeah, and then there's a breakdown there on I guess that's cover 2 with Darby and Ramsey, and the guy just gets right. I don't know what Ramsey was looking at. Maybe he had middle help as well, but he lets that guy go right down the sideline, which is not a. This ends up being a big time defensive stop too to hold them to the field goal. Like obviously, if they go out and score the touchdown, if they go up by 8, that's a much bigger deal than being up by 4. Because now for the first time in 2 hours, Florida State has a chance to take the lead with a touchdown. So it's a good hit by Ramsey, but the kid held on.
What year was Jalen when he did the clapping in the Florida kid's face?
That was the next year. It was the Miami kid. It was the Miami kid.
14,
yeah. That's when he had the game of his life.
Yeah, he was.
That game at Miami. That's when I knew he was a talented player.
That's when it clicked.
He's like, I think this kid's got something. He's got a little moxie.
It wasn't starting as a true freshman on this defense.
He always
his very first game. His very first game as a true freshman, he started. But no, it was about a year and a half in. I'm like, all right, I think Jalen can play.
He messed up his shoulder on that tackle too.
Mason was a good player too, by the way, man. He ran hard. He was for them. I don't know how many of their guys made it to the league. I know it wasn't all 22 like Florida State's, but the Mason kid was a really good player.
Yeah, it's amazing to see guys like Telvin. I mean, you haven't seen a linebacker like that since Telvin. Honestly, to see guys flying around, getting in on tackles, doing what he does.
The funniest thing about Telvin is he sat behind Vince Williams for all that time, and everybody complained. Vince Williams is still in the NFL.
Yeah,
that's unbelievable to me. And I remember you guys remember his dad, and his dad always thought that Carlos was the one that was going to make it in the league, not Vince. And who knew? I mean, what a great player. He's been in the league for a long time.
That's another good stop by Telvin after Mason's run. Yeah, I think Telvin. I have to look that up. You got this. I'm going to look up the stats. I think Telvin had a bunch of tackles in that game, which would be nothing new.
Yeah, I think that was.
Yeah, Telvin led FSU in tackles. 15 tackles in the game. Woo!
Is that what he had? Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the thing that made, like you guys will see it in here in a second, but the thing that made this offense so tough to stop is that quarterback could really run.
Yeah.
For the people that don't remember, he signed with Georgia, was at Georgia. Then he got arrested, I think, for stealing stuff out of his teammates' locker.
Like
is that right?
Yeah. Something like that. Yeah.
I guess I should know absolutely what it was before I talk about it. But he got kicked off the team and ended up beating Mark Richt at Auburn, which probably didn't feel great. And we talk about Florida State feeling like, they're the best team in the country and they have all this talent. Well, at this time, man, you also have to remember, I know I was talking about Auburn was starting to pucker up a little bit, and they were, but they had won two of the most ridiculous close games that have ever been won in the history of college football. So you're thinking about, and we'll talk about it later, even after Kelvin's touchdown, you're like, well, it's not over yet with this team. They've pulled miracles before, but they are so comfortable. Florida State had not been in a game like this all year. Auburn had been in like 4 of them. So they must have. So they probably felt like it was their briar patch, and that okay. I know they're on a nice little run. They've scored 17 in a row, 17 unanswered, I would even say. But all Auburn feels like okay. Now we're driving. We put a touchdown here. They're gonna We're gonna win this game. We are going to win this game right here on this drive.
They've been showing a lot of Timmy Jernigan on the sideline sucking air, and it's amazing when and I think someone even ran the numbers once in the final quarter, how Auburn did so much better offensively with him on the side versus when he was on the field. In that second half, when he was on the field, they couldn't do anything. When he was off, they were able to do what we're seeing now, and they're able to run the football a little bit on him. But, yeah, he was really sucking wind there at some of the shots they showed on the sideline. It's probably a good thing they rested him up to bring him back later.
Yeah, he had some sort of medical issue. I can't remember if it was flu or some sort of sickness or if maybe it was just cramping. But I remember he wasn't right, and then he kind of demanded to get back in the game.
Yeah, there's. Aslan, we don't take requests from you. What's the matter with you? Aslan chiming in, telling us what to talk about.
I'm guessing that's probably a fan on either the message board or on YouTube was asking that.
I would say Trey Mason is much sadder. Didn't he have like a mental breakdown, a mental issue, and quit football?
Did he come back from that or no?
I don't remember, but I thought it was that's much sadder. Kelvin had plenty of opportunities and also made a lot of money. Trey, I feel worse for the Mason kid.
To me, more sad is Carlos Williams. I mean, going to the league, he blew up his first few games in the NFL. I think he led the league in touchdowns at one point, rushing touchdowns the first 4 or 5 games, and then just completely flamed out, and he hasn't made it back. And it's just you saw the talent and a guy that made the move to running back, and it played out. And to me, that was sadder because, like you said, Kelvin at least should have hopefully banked a little bit of that money before he blew out.
That's Niall Lawrence Stample is in the game for Jernigan right now. That's a big tackle, another big tackle by PJ Williams right here to bring up a third down. And you think of Auburn on this team, this season, they're the hurry up, they're the speed, they're the breakneck offense. Well, this drive has taken 5 minutes and counting. Like they've swallowed up a third of the fourth quarter. So it was a really big drive on their part to stack up 3 or 4 first downs in a row and get down to the Florida State 10. This is one of the plays of the game. And I can't quite remember if it's a good play by the defense or if it's just a bad throw by Marshall. I know it's an incompletion in the end zone on a rollout to the right. And then he throws back and he wasn't exactly open either way. It was a high throw. It wasn't a good throw, but he wasn't exactly open. So you stand there and you've held him to a field goal. So now Jameis is going to get a chance to win the game by getting the ball back. None of us knew what was about to happen on the kickoff. But right there, Florida State will have a chance with the offense to go win this game.
So at this point, there's 5 minutes left. It's 21-20. So we get 4 more touchdowns?
3 more.
3 more touchdowns?
Yeah.
That's nuts.
4 more scores. 4 more scores. This counts as a score, but 3 more touchdowns. And in actuality, like this is I know all the Florida State fans behind the goalpost are waving for him to miss. But I feel like in that moment, it's just as well that he made it. Obviously turned out it was, but you wanted to get the ball at the 20 or 25, not the 7.
On that play court, I think he could have. The receiver had a step and the throw was perfect. He might have been able to get it, but on that is Lamarcus Joyner was able to come in and get in its face, and I think that made it.
Yeah.
There's no way he was going to get the throw with Lamarcus on him.
And that's the give and take of having somebody like Nick Marshall as your quarterback. He's going to get through some first downs with his legs that not anybody else in the country can get. Are very few, but then also throws like that where it takes an NFL arm or just a great accurate arm to make a throw. He's not as good on those, and that he sailed it high. That's not an impossible throw. It would have been a hard one, but it's not an impossible one. But he made it look impossible. But yeah, Lamarcus Joyner. It was always fun watching him close on quarterbacks that had no idea, no conception of how fast number 20 was.
We saw I had a watched the Clemson replay last weekend, and again, I'm always the Taj Boyd expression on that play when LaMarcus comes off the side and nails him. You could tell he didn't think that was possible.
Yeah,
I will always
quick.
remember that.
Yeah, he's backing up, thinking, "Oh, I'll just back up. He won't get here that fast. He won't. I got plenty." And then, oh, where's the ball?
It was also cool seeing. We were talking about people we saw on the sidelines. People we saw on the sidelines of this game. Monk Bonasort there on the sideline there. May he rest in peace. That was a cool season for him as well. Going up to Pittsburgh. Remember going to the Pittsburgh game with Monk being from Pittsburgh, and I remember when we were up there, Corey, probably right before you bought your $70 jeans. $100 jeans at that whatever
that ridiculous store at the top of that hill. Yeah, it was ridiculous. I packed for Pittsburgh and forgot to bring any pants. So all I had was athletic shorts. And I didn't realize that until the night before the game. So that day we were sightseeing in Pittsburgh and I had to stop and get jeans. And the only store we came across was one that was selling them for $100. And I don't have them anymore.
They were nice jeans though.
They were
great. But yeah, then right after that, I think we ran across Monk. That trip to Pittsburgh was about as cool of an experience. And besides the game was awesome because our Jameis's coming out party. But just that trip, I had no idea what to expect when we had our first trip to Pittsburgh. But that was awesome. We had a great time. Yeah.
I went to the game. I went to the Cardinals Pirates game. I think the ACC, I think Amy, at least maybe she didn't buy us dinner, but we all went out to dinner with some people from the ACC because they were all there because it was Pittsburgh's first game in the conference. Then we went to Jerome Bettis's
that sports
restaurant,
bar.
Right? Nicknamed the Bus. He's nicknamed the Bus because he's afraid to fly like I am. But you remember that? And they had the restroom where you can see
the mirrors, right?
Yeah, the mirrors where you can see out into the restaurant as you're peeing. It's really bizarre. All right, here we go. I'm going to stop. You guys are behind me, but I don't care. Kermit takes it at the 2 yards deep.
And I think he's got a chance.
I think he's got a chance. And then the most awe-inspiring thing other than his speed is Carlos Williams' speed. He's running stride for stride with a legitimate world-class track star.
I also love the Auburn guy pulling up. Like, my hamstring.
The one guy did pull his hammy. The other guy that had the angle, again, he had no idea what he was trying to run up against. I mean, Kermit Whitfield legitimately is the fastest person, other than maybe Dion, that's ever worn, just going strictly by track numbers, that's ever worn a Florida State football uniform. His track numbers in high school were, best in the country times. He was incredible.
Speaking of pulling a hammy, was it the Rashad Green play later where Jimbo pulled his hammy?
Oh, yeah.
Was it not on this one? I thought they're going to show him. They're going to show his replay running down the sideline. It's one of the ones where he runs down the sideline.
It might have been. Yeah, he hobbles along on the Rashad Green play, but he may have pulled it earlier.
So maybe 2 hamstrings got pulled on this play.
I think he might have aggravated it.
Right. Yeah. And I remember Jameis's reaction running down with him. So all of a sudden, amazingly, somehow, my man splits the uprights again. Somehow Florida State has the lead in this game with 4.5 minutes to go. All mainly because of the defense. Auburn scored 3 points in the second half up to this point. Yeah, number 20, whatever that was, 26 for Auburn. Not only does he miss Kermit, but then he goes stumbling into the sidelines and falls over a cameraman.
Another familiar face, Chief Perry on the sideline. FSU's police chief. He's now, I think he's in North Carolina. He left about a year ago to take another job. A lot of people no longer with the program.
There goes Jimbo. He's yelling, go, go, go. Oh, no, he didn't pull it there. So, yeah, he pulled it on the Rashad Green one.
Okay.
Not great coverage there for Auburn either, by the way.
Hey, what are you kicking it deep for him?
Number 36 did not help them out.
It's amazing. This is in bowl games. Wasn't it 2-3 years later when we had the famous Keith Gavin return against Michigan in the fourth quarter? Quarter?
That's right.
So fourth quarter kickoff returns been good for FSU and bowls.
I mean, that's the biggest kick. Would you say that's got to be one of the biggest kick returns in college football history? Time, place, score. I know it didn't end up winning the game, although they don't win without it. But to return a kick to go ahead in a national championship game with 4:30 left, there haven't been many like that.
All right, Corey. So if we put Kermit at the goal line,
okay,
Carlos at the 5, Where does Red Lightning have to be for them to all finish at the same, all at the goal line at the same place?
I would say Red Lightning would be at the
That's
40?
Wheels, man. In his
The 40?
prime. Red Lightning.
Yeah,
in his
about the
prime.
35 probably.
35 is what I'm
He
thinking.
needs about a 30-yard head start, I think.
He's lightning, man. You can put him in the parking lot. He's catching him.
But what would be awesome is just if you watched it, just how they start slowly tracking him down. That would be the best. Like they're going like this, and then it's slow. You see like Kermit and Carlos just completely start tracking them down. So
Carlos,
it would be like I think Red Lightning's having to dive at the goal line to beat them.
If Carlos is that fair? Carlos at the 5, or is he only at the 3?
Maybe at the 3. Yeah, I mean you watch that. He wasn't like losing ground on Kermit, and Kermit had hit it at full speed, and Carlos came out of a dead stop because he was blocking a guy.
Roberto
All right, here we go. The Knowles have the lead.
Roberto is not letting them return that kick.
Are you guys warming up the Heisman pose?
It's coming. This is a great play by Mario Edwards. A great play. He tackles him by the hand. He grabs him by his hand and won't let him go. It's just such a great play.
Strong kid.
And how many kids that size can run down a quarterback like that? I mean,
it's just great. Yeah, he literally grabs him by the fingers and won't let go, his passing hand. And then that's a 7-yard loss. And at that moment was the first time I'm like, okay, I think Florida State, that this is about to be a wrap because they're going to get the ball back and then they can just run out the clock. And then this play too. So a great play by Christian Jones right here. He gets a 1-yard gain. Now Auburn, the clock's running. They have 3 timeouts, but it's 3rd and 16 against the best defense in the country.
Yeah,
we talked about it they've had all 11 guys in the NFL, and you don't have a great throwing quarterback. And he makes right here the play of his life. It's a great play. The reason I'm talking so much, guys, is because I'm ahead of you.
Yeah, I just saw the Christian Jones tackle, so. Yeah, I was thinking, I'm sitting there in the press box going, it's over after Edwards tackle and Jones. Like, there's no way they're picking this up. They're reeling right now. FSU's got all the momentum. They've got to throw. I thought it was over.
That's such an unbelievable play. He makes Mario miss. I couldn't see who the other guy missed. But then he also, he's on the run, rolling to his left, and throws it a perfect pass to a well-covered Sammy Coates.
3rd and 11.
I don't know how it was 3rd and 11. That first play, I feel like he lost 6 yards. And then that's a great run by Mason. So now once he picked that up, you're like, oh boy, oh no. Well, if you're a Florida State fan, you're like that's going to be tough.
Especially knowing how they came back to win those other games.
That's perfect coverage by PJ Williams. Now, could he have batted it down? I guess. He just missed it, though.
I didn't realize it looking at that replay. He threw off his back foot, too. There's a guy in his face throwing off his back foot. He hit that stride right to him.
Yeah, and that throws as hard as the one he missed in the end zone.
Yeah. Back throw, rolling the wrong way. PJ right on him, and he just misses the pass breakup. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh, man, here comes Auburn's not done.
They're midfield.
Because they're going to have to punt. If they don't pick that up, they're punting because they got 3 timeouts left. So they're going to punt, and then, Florida State was always pretty darn good in Jimbo's era of running out the clock.
He almost fumbled at the beginning of that play also, before that pass.
Yeah. And now Jernigan's down again.
And I guess he's cramping up.
That's what they were saying, yeah. I've seen this Zion commercial now about 12 times. He's drinking Bolt 24. Oh, and now we got the other one they keep playing.
It's interesting. We're all getting different commercials.
Well, I'm going to check what's on the ACC network real quick. Where's the remote?
No, man, don't switch.
I'll switch right back, Ira. I'm just curious what the.
Hey, did you get the release from the ACC? They're going to be playing the greatest basketball games of last year.
Of the last year?
No, this past season they're going to be playing a lot of the great games. So there's several Florida State games coming up in it next week.
All right, well that's cool. That's something. I feel like they could tap into the vault and give us stuff from the 80s and 90s too. But it's right now. Okay, just so you guys know, I just looked it up. It's Let
me guess. Let me guess.
Okay, go ahead.
I'm gonna say it's a Wake Forest, Virginia volleyball.
It's High Point at Virginia lacrosse.
I mean,
literally, how many people are watching it? Would you? I mean, a literal estimate. Would you say there's 400 people watching that in the country? It's High Point at Virginia.
High Point's got a pretty rabid fan base, and they don't get on TV a lot.
You're right.
So,
you're right.
So they're probably the whole High Point athletic community.
I'm sure they're all subscribed to the ACC network. They're all
the
on
High Point. Yeah.
at High Point.
Carolina.
And then after that, it's Richmond at Duke lacrosse, which at least you get Duke lacrosse. You get one of the powers. And then you got Hobart lacrosse at Syracuse. And then you go to women's college lacrosse, and you got Hofstra at Boston College. I'm going to tune into that game to see how many people are in the crowd. I'm going to say it's less than 12. Back to the game. We've got another stadium shot of the Rose Bowl. In case you guys didn't know, it's a really pretty part of the country, and it's in a neighborhood. Timmy Jernigan's on the trainer table. He is done for the day. It's 2nd and 2, right around midfield. Coming up soon is the best missed tackle in Florida State history.
Starting to get a little nervous at this point.
Yeah, because you're having to write a column, right? I'm just doing the game story, so I'm just erasing and deleting and writing what, play by play, drive by drive. You're actually having to form an opinion.
At this point, I'm also thinking too, if they methodically go down the field. I mean, you first thinking about the time, because that last drive from Auburn took so much time. I mean, there's under 3 minutes.
That missed tackle
early at midfield. They could have gone down and maybe scored with under 30 seconds left.
Yeah, the missed tackle, it might have been fortuitous. I mean, honestly.
Oh, it 100% was, because it just felt inevitable. Because at this point, the one thing that's different though is that, say they get a stop, and that's a nice throw from Marshall to Coates right there. Say they get a stop, Auburn's still going to be in field goal range. So it's not like they get 4 downs to get 10 yards. So they might have settled for a field goal. This is a great play by Joyner. I think that's a 7-yard sack. And so at that point, when he makes that sack right there to make it 2nd and 17, I'm thinking to myself, okay, if they get 10 or 12 of these yards back, they're not going to go for it on 4th down. They're going to try to kick a game-time field goal. That's such a good play. God, Marshall just kept coming back though. Jacoby McDaniel's in on that tackle, and then here it comes. Yeah, so he had already picked up the 1st down. So the best thing that could have happened in this instance for Florida State was the missed tackle. Yeah, there it is.
Oh, and Nick Marshall must not be very strong, because Joyner just grabbed him with one hand and yanked him back, just like
he's a runner, man. He's a runner.
Mario Edwards did with his hand.
We're about to show the Heisman pose here in a second. 34 for 195. All right, they're showing him. He's getting a hug. Sees the camera. There he goes. Flexes the pose, and then the Heisman pose, and then points to his chest.
I'm about to see it right now.
Let's see it, Corey. Let's see the pose.
I can't. Can you? There's red lightning again. Another red lightning sighting.
Seeing it right now.
So yeah,
so here's my point though about the play. I don't think Ramsey misses the tackle if it PJ? Somebody bumps into him that knocks him off the tackle.
There's somebody else there that knocks him off. But if you do the math, if Jalen makes the tackle, they've got the ball at, I guess, your 20-yard line, 1st and 10.
Minute 30.
The clock's running with 1:30, and they're going to try to milk it to score with 12 seconds left. So him missing it, and they're already in field goal range, so the game's already going to be that kid wasn't automatic, but the game you think is already going to be tied at worst. Telvin doesn't get over there in time, misses the block. No, I think Jalen just missed the tackle.
Doesn't he get kind of pushed? He kind of there's
PJ
some contact there.
PJ comes over late in a dive, but no, he didn't. He had lowered his shoulder and didn't wrap up, and he had already bounced off him.
Contradict me one more time, see what happens.
Sorry.
I'll drive over here.
Maybe. I mean, he kind of looked at, but it's all right. Like that worked out.
No, it worked out.
I didn't watch this again. I didn't see what you're talking about, Ira. Let me see here. He was flashing on him, and I wonder. I don't know. Maybe he thought he was going to come in and help him on the tackle, because he kind of flashed right as he's making the tackle.
I think he clips Jalen. Like, I think Jalen could have turned with him. Whoa. I think Jalen could have turned with him and continued the tackle, but I think he got kind of shoved off. And there's just like a momentum thing there.
Did you guys see that stat that I didn't remember that in the SEC championship game, he had 46 carries for 304 yards?
Yeah.
46 carries? That's unbelievable. Good job, Gus. That's like a pitcher throwing 100 and yeah, just keep. That's right, Aslan. Just keep. Hey, just keep feeding them.
How many carries would Herschel get back then?
Not 46. Now they didn't have as many plays back then either. So Georgia would run the ball 45 times in a game, and he'd have 39 for 186. Oh, now we got the best of both worlds. We've got an outside view of the Rose Bowl with the palm trees and the crystal ball, setting up for this final drive. What's crazy to me is they kicked to Kermit again. Just kick it right down the middle. No way he can burn us twice. I mean, it worked out.
Maybe they're hoping to get the ball back again, Corey.
That's right. We're going to need it back with about a minute. 106. They kicked it right down the middle of the field to Kermit again. So minute 19, so going back to that story, I talked to Jimbo about this drive. He said the first thing they wanted to do right away is a simple, easy throw to get the momentum going and to get Jameis feeling good about himself. So a quick, simple throw, not one where he's got 3 or 4 reads running crossing routes 18 yards down the field, but a quick, simple throw to get the juices flowing and to get the ball rolling a little bit. And I think it's like a 7 or 8 yard pass to Rashad Green, just kind of a simple out. Man, they kick it. Now it's a high kick, but man, right down the middle of the field. That return took 8 seconds. So 1:11 left, ball at the 20. There's a league way patting Jameis on the helmet.
I think Jimbo, didn't he got kicked out before the next season, right?
Yeah.
Because I think that was one of the Jimbo's contentions. The 2014 defense would have been better if he had stayed in school.
Well, he did play a good bit. He was like their third down rusher for part of that season too. They liked him a lot. Didn't he get drafted?
Yeah, he did.
All right. So yeah, you obviously got Devontae as the tailback. I know they had a 3-headed monster, but it was always Devontae. And then so it's an 8 yard pass to Rashad on just kind of a simple stop route where he gets to the sideline. Rashad, by the way, this drive proves it. But you're talking about one of the all-time great players and one of the all-time clutch players in Florida State history with Rashad Green. You guys have to call. You guys comment too.
Well, we're so far behind you guys.
I know. It's a bummer.
Yeah.
That was a lead-in for you guys to talk about how great Rashad was.
And Rashad advanced, right, in our Legends, our Madness contest.
He beat Sammy Smith, I think.
Yeah,
he advanced, which I thought would have been actually a little closer.
There's the horse collar.
That's the one I still get mad seeing that one.
What are we looking at? So yeah, this is an option route where Jameis has the ability to throw it to Kenny or Rashad, whoever's open. They both run the same route. He hits Rashad, and then Rashad does what he does and splits the defenders. The most ridiculous non-horse collar call in the history of college football, maybe the history of football in general. But it ends up working out because it makes the drive last a little longer in hindsight. But that's a ridiculous missed call. And all of a sudden, in two plays, you're down to the 23-yard line.
It's also crazy how Rashad split those guys.
Yeah.
Do people just misunderestimate his speed? I mean, and it's not even a speed thing. He just got the ball, but it's just like I don't understand how they both took the wrong angle.
And Aaron, looking at the replay, I also want to see that slow motion. It's almost like the two guys kind of saw the other one and kind of maybe didn't go full speed. They were kind of like, he's got him, you got him, one of those type of situations. Oops, he's gone.
Literally the entire FSU sideline, everybody's throwing for the flag for the horse collar.
So on this play, it's crazy they didn't call it. But yeah, he slips through there. He's just such a silky smooth receiver. But on the next play, talking to Jimbo about it, he thought that was a touchdown. The screen pass to Devontae. Because really? He said he goes, look, a lot of people made a lot out to they knew my plays, they knew my tendencies. He said, well, I knew their tendencies too. I had a history with a lot of their defensive guys, and I knew after a big play, I can't remember who their DC was. It's somebody famous. It's a guy we all know. Who was it? It's Ellis Johnson, according to Aslan. He knew that after a big play like that or a chunk play, his instinct was to always blitz on the very next play. So he calls a screen pass that is designed perfectly to Devontae Freeman. And the kid from behind tracks him down.
17 made an amazing play. 17.
Unbelievable play because, as Jimbo pointed out on the All-11, because you can't see it on the TV frame, and the All-22, it's a walk-in touchdown if he doesn't make that play. There's nobody on that side there's nobody that's going to tackle him before the 5-yard line.
Yeah, we're seeing
a great play.
We're now seeing Jimbo pull up a little bit on that run down the sideline.
Yeah, that was it. That was the one. And I believe this is a play that's number one, Jimbo called that timeout way too early after that screen pass. He should have let a little time run off the clock. There you go, Aslan, represent. But I think that might have been the first and only catch Kenny Shaw had the whole game. Was that one right there for the first down? And that's a guy that caught almost 1,000 yards.
Did all three end up with 1,000 yards, or Kenny?
No, he missed
underneath?
it. He missed it because he had one catch in that game for 5 yards. Or he ended up with like 970 or something. And this is the one play right here that almost ends the season. Rashad drops it somehow. It hits him in the hands, and if it deflects in any other direction, or if it deflects a foot higher, there's 5 Auburn guys around the ball, and that's how you lose. That's how the season's going to come to an end, is a deflected interception. But it luckily fell to the ground.
Jameis sees many of those in the NFL, so
he does. Yeah,
he didn't need that one.
No.
Man.
Yeah, I forgot about this play. You're right. He had bounced straight down.
And then talking about Rashad being so clutch. Well, my man number 8 was really clutch too. This is I know it's just technically a screen pass. It's not a screen pass, but a route to the running back, and it's an 8-yard gain. But that is a perfect throw and a perfect route. And the guy gets you 8 yards, gets you 7 yards when you absolutely need it. You know he's going to catch it because he caught everything. That's
Makes it
really
easy.
Yeah, he does, man.
Beautiful pass. Jameis took a little bit off of it and kind of laid it out there for him.
And then Jimbo says right here that Stork, he blames Stork for some reason, but to me it looks like Jameis starts walking up like he's going to change the play. And he said that was a mistake. When I asked him about it, he said it was a mistake by Stork, but I don't know what that could be because Jameis was walking up to the line looking like he wanted to change the play. But the play that was going to be, for the ones that want to know, the play was going to be a quarterback sweep to the right. That's what that play was going to be. For whatever reason, Jameis stepped like a foot towards Stork to call something out.
I guess Stork must have pointed to the wrong linebacker.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, that probably was it. And that was going to be a sweep to the right. And so here we go with Rashad Green again making a play. He abuses this cornerback, and the only thing he can, I think it's Chris Davis. The only thing he can do is spin him around.
Yeah. Don't worry, Chris Davis will come through in the next play.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jameis is yelling at Stork after that play.
Yeah, they're showing Stork.
And Chris Davis after the game was like, yeah, hey, look, that was a great catch by Benjamin. What are you going to do? But there's no way that was pass interference. And it's like, dude, what are you talking about? You're on his back, and you literally spin him around. Because, that's a touchdown if you don't. Like right here, he grabs him with his left arm and then spins him and uses him to catapult himself in front of him.
And there were 2 flags. That's the thing, too. Both officials.
Yeah, they both saw it. They all saw it. So Jimbo's already saying bull blank before he sees the flag. So right there, talking to Jimbo, he says that as soon as he sees the flag go up, he knows what play he's calling. He knows it's going to be this play. And the thinking is that there's Aslan getting excited. Woo! Suck it, Auburn. The touchdown they scored in the first half was out of that exact same alignment, and they gave it to DeFonte. And he goes so he knew that they'd be set up to stop the run, and also he's got a timeout. So he wants to throw on first down, and if it's an incomplete pass, they can still run it on second down and call a timeout if they don't get it and still have 2 plays to go to the end zone.
Yeah, having that timeout was big.
It's huge. It's one of the biggest things about the whole drive. It's a great throw. It's a great catch. It's also a great call. And if you notice, there wasn't a lot of time from the time the flag was thrown till they had lined up ready to run that play. Maybe they sped us up because it's a replay. But Jimbo said as soon as the flag went out, he knew that was the play that was going to be called because they had set it up in the first half with the touchdown run by Freeman. I don't know if it was the exact same set, but it was close to the same set where it had 2 tight ends on the field and only 1 receiver.
What's funny about this, I was telling you guys this the other day, I'll tweet it out later, and I'll put it on the thread on the Tribal Council. But if you go back and watch, I was just going back and watching old Jimbo press conferences from practices back that season.
That's exciting.
The 3rd or 4th practice, Jimbo talks about them working on that play in practice.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and he talks about how he actually demonstrates. You'll see the video; it's awesome. He actually demonstrates. It was a practice. We were in the indoor facility. It was like the open practice for the fans. And Gene asked him because they were throwing a lot of passes to Kelvin down near the red zone, and he said they were actually working on throwing him the ball when he was covered to make him go up and catch the ball. And Jimbo actually with his hands shows it almost looks exactly like the catch. It's pretty cool. And that was the third or fourth day of practice back in August, and it ends up being the game winner.
Wow, that's crazy. That's really cool.
I'll tweet that video out later.
I got a good story in the that photo, and I don't know if Aslan can show photos, but we got one. We did some graphics with it. We used to do a charity event for Kids First, and a great photo of the catch, and we got it signed by Kelvin, I think by Jameis, and we did an auction, and we do an online auction, and the guy who won it, he spent several $1,000s on the picture. It was all the charity, which is great, but a guy that worked on Wall Street. And he told me the story of how he did it. And he goes, not only because he wanted to display in his office behind his chair, he said, my best friend who works right next door to me is an Auburn grad. So every time he has to come in my office, he has to see that picture of that player.
Nice. Perfect. That's what college football is all about.
You know what would have been cool is
if Jameis had done a Heisman pose after the throw?
No, I was thinking if what's his name? Mick, what's my man, the Gator to play?
Yeah,
it was awesome.
Hey, so again, I know I'm praising this kid nonstop, but look at this kickoff. It is a perfect kickoff. Again, you're kicking to a team that feels like they're a team of destiny that has scored 1,000 different ways. And I talked to Charles Kelly, who was the special teams coordinator, about that play in the locker room after the game. And I was like, y'all, I'm surprised y'all didn't muff it or not muff it, pooch it or kick a line drive. And he's like, no, man, we got the best kicker in the country. And if I tell him I want it deep right in the end zone, that's exactly where he put it. And that is exactly where he put it.
Was this, to add to that, Corey, was this the, but not only we know the most points he scored and all the accuracy and all that, but this season, 2013, was the best season by a college kicker probably in history. I mean, his accuracy and everything he did in this season.
Yeah, I mean, he missed the one kick at Wake Forest, I think, in a 59-3 game. Yeah, you could say that. I mean, the reason I think is I thought his next season was better. Auburn's taking a timeout so we can talk about it. I thought he was better in 2014 because the kicks meant so much more.
Well, that's true.
Every kick was vital. And that kick he made against Miami, Jimbo's the only coach in the history of college football that doesn't go for it in that spot. You're down 6 with 7 minutes to go. It's 4th and 5, and you're at the opponent's 35-yard line. And he's like, no, I got a gray toe. I'm gonna let him kick a 53-yarder and cut this lead in half because it's automatic, and it was. But I would say his first 2 years are the best 2-year run of any kicker in history. His third year was a little, for his standard, not nearly as good. It was a little dicey, but the first 2 years were incredible. And it wasn't just the field goals and the extra points; it was stuff like that too. It's a perfect kick. Not only did the kid only get to the 20, he ran 4 seconds off the clock. And you're talking about a team that had scored its last. Or 2 games ago had scored on a kick 6, and before that had beaten Georgia in the most ridiculous way possible.
So many fans here in the stands are holding their breath on this play. Again, like you said, they had that weird aura of pulling out miracles. Yeah. And, I mean, you could feel it in the stadium. Like, Florida State had won the game, but you're still like, well, there's still this weird thing with Auburn that something crazy could happen here. And for those first couple, when they're lateral and throwing it around, you're like, is this going to happen?
So yeah, when he throws an incompletion right there, that's just the forgotten play. It's a weird play. They had a timeout. I feel like they could have thrown it to the middle of the field and gotten to the 30 or something. But he throws an incomplete pass, and then now there's 3 seconds left. And you remember the image they showed, the photograph that made its rounds around Twitter later that afternoon and the next day, where it shows Trey Mason with all these blockers in front of him. Yeah. And it's like, why did he cut to the inside? If he'd have stayed outside, he'd have scored. And it's like, dude, do you know what secondary he was up against? There are 7 guys on Florida State's field that are faster than Trey Mason at that one time. LaMarcus Joyner, Jalen Ramsey, it was a relay. LaMarcus Joyner would have fallen down and gotten up and tackled him. So they tackle him, he fumbles. I think Joyner tackles him, actually. I can't remember who tackles him. And then who? Telvin tackles. Yeah, Telvin, remember him? Yeah, he tackles him. So no, he was not going to go 90 yards against that defense with those guys. Here's Mike Martin Jr. Mike Martin Jr. getting some love, hugging Jimbo.
It's a well-designed play, though. I mean, it had no chance, but it was a well-designed play.
I felt, why wouldn't they have done that on the first play?
Yeah. No, you're right. It might have taken a long time, but.
Well, yeah, it did. And it ended up getting 20 yards. And it took, it did. It took probably 11 seconds of real time. So what y'all think of, we can ask it now. It's 7 years later. What did you think of Jameis immediately running to Damian Craig? Like it was his sole focus to go run and hug an assistant coach for the other team, who turns out was stealing your plays half the game.
I wasn't too surprised. I mean, he was closer to Damian than he was Jimbo.
Sure.
So.
But
it wasn't a good look, but again, it's a situational awareness thing maybe, and as we know, Jameis sometimes lacked a little in that department. I don't mind him going over and congratulating, hugging him, but I don't think that should have been the first move.
It's not. It's the yeah. I mean, you feel like you would have hugged your own teammates first or hugged your own coach, but not only that, it's the self-awareness of. I wonder if Coach Craig is really devastated that he just lost a national championship game, and maybe he doesn't want to hug me right now. You know what I mean? Like maybe he's not as happy for me as I think he is.
Mm-hmm.
That was kind of what my thought process there is. Like, man, you got plenty of time to go dap him up and give him a big old hug, but to literally it's the first and only time probably in sports history that a winning player has sprinted across the field to celebrate with a losing coach. Well, hey, Jameis marched to his own drummer.
His post game or his speech here is fantastic, and this is one of those things where when we're at the games covering it, there are a lot of times there are things are happening on TV that we don't get to see. So I don't think any of us knew this was happening. And then afterwards, people started, just like the Clemson speech, like the Clemson pregame speech, we're in the press box. So we didn't actually get to hear that live, whereas everybody watching it at home got to see his pregame speech. Same thing with this one. His postgame speech was awesome, but I didn't get to see it till the next day.
Yeah. Isn't that the one that A.J. McCarron's mom made fun of?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And she's like, was that English or something like that? And then it turns out that Jameis, there's Candy Fisher. Man, this is crazy. This is crazy watching this game, watching these the faces. There's Trey, who's now a college quarterback, right?
Yeah, he signed with somebody.
Who's he's 11 or 12 years old right there with that floppy hair. Man, what a different time. There's James Wilder directing the band. Yeah,
so where are you guys right now? What are you guys doing right now? You on the field?
I'm at the I'm on an elevator getting down. I'm rushing down to the field. I think I've probably just now filed my story, and then I'm rushing down to the field to try to get some sort of post game reaction.
I think I was still finishing my column.
Didn't we have to hand out papers too?
We did. We brought because of the Democrat, like all newspapers, we had the national championship editions already printed, and we had to keep them hidden so we could pass them out after the game.
And then we handed them out to the players, so every picture, or most of the pictures that were taken. So, Gene, when they win a national championship again,
we have to make fake newspapers.
We're gonna have to do like a war chant. I don't know what we're gonna do with war chant.
Here's a little story. I remember. I don't know. Ira, were you with us by the Oregon game?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
So you remember we did that for that. At least that one we.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, that's so. I don't know if we want to do that. We jinxed it. We actually had to hide them in the bushes. We had a bunch of posters for War Chant beating Oregon in the semifinals, and they're still in the bushes somewhere there at the Rose Bowl.
Nice.
We should have done what they do with like those T-shirts. They send them to like other countries.
Yeah, you could have sent them to other fan bases.
Well, hey, and I'm disappointed as I'm going after this on the field. I'm climbing over people getting on the field, getting photos of the celebration. And then I'm running back to the locker room, and those vendors on the side, one of the guys had the Auburn National Championship T-shirts. He was selling them for $1 a piece. And I'm still kicking myself going back.
You definitely should have gotten 50
of those things.
When we were in Omaha this past year with Florida State baseball, the souvenir shop that's still there, they have a T-shirt that says Florida State, whatever it is, 99 or 2000 national champs.
There you go. When there's one, and I retweeted this a few weeks ago. Somebody tweeted it. It's before when Jameis is waiting to talk to Rinaldi. There's a video. Somebody that's standing right there is videoing it on their phone, and it's awesome because Jameis is there, Candy's there, and Rinaldi's waiting to go live, and Candy keeps like talking to Jameis, and Rinaldi's just like rolling his eyes the whole time, like I got to deal with this, It's awesome. He has no idea that he's being filmed on that. It's pretty cool.
Oh, that's fun. That's fun. Yeah. So yeah, AJ McCarron's mom felt the need to go to Twitter and mock Jameis's intellect. Meanwhile, Jameis crushed him on the Wonderlic, like 30-22 or whatever it was. That tweet I got a lot of retweets when Jameis's Wonderlic score came out, and I compared it to AJ McCarron's. So yeah, that's it for the celebration. We don't get to see anything else. I didn't get to see myself on the field, but I was down. We were all down there somewhere doing something.
Florida State wins it all. What a night! Little did we know.
Who knew this was going to be? Yeah, who knew this program was going to start sliding down after this?
Yeah.
2014 was fun. I mean, it was fun to watch.
It was fun, but it was man
different.
I mean, there was the defensive collapses, the mistakes.
Well, now we're a basketball school. Anyway, should we sign off now? What do we do? What do we say now?
We're done.
We're done. For Aslan, Ira, and Gene, I'm Corey Clark. Thanks for tuning in to whatever we're calling this thing. It was fun.
Good job, Corey.
Hey, good job, guys. Corey, I'll see you.